Turn down the lights and imagine the soft crackle of a fire warming the dim corners of an old Victorian house. Now imagine that you, an ordinary person from the modern world, are about to step into this place, not as a visitor, not as a guest, but as someone expected to survive an entire day under rules and routines that would break most people in minutes. When the door closes behind you, it will feel as if time itself has turned heavy. The walls breathe stories. The floors moan with secrets. And somewhere deep inside, the house waits to see if you can last until morning. You probably won't last 24 hours. But you're going to try. The moment your boots touch the threshold of the year 1875, everything feels wrong and right at the same time. The air smells of coal, lavender, damp wood, and worn fabric. The light is soft, golden, almost sleepy, the kind of light that makes everything feel distant and close all at once. A narrow hallway stretches ahead, lined with wallpaper patterned like wilting roses. A tall clock ticks deeply, like a heartbeat refusing to be ignored. You don't know yet that the clock will become your enemy. You don't know that by the time it strikes midnight, you will be exhausted enough to cry. A servant girl, no older than 15, stands stiffly by the stairs. Her brown hair is neatly braided, her apron spotless even though her hands tremble from hours of scrubbing floors. She stares at you as if unsure whether you are real. Perhaps no one ever warned her that you'd be coming. You must be the visitor, she whispers, her voice thin and breathless. Mrs. Whitlock said to bring you to the kitchen. Breakfast mustn't be late. Breakfast. You only just arrived, but the Victorian day has already been running for hours. In 1875, mornings don't begin at sunrise, they begin long before it, in cold darkness, with chores piled so high that time feels like a punishment. The servant girl leads you through the hallway, your hands brushing against fabrics and furniture that feel like museum pieces, but here, everything is alive. Every surface demands care. Every object has rules. In the kitchen, warmth swirls heavily around you. A huge black iron stove glows with a tired heat, and a pot of porridge bubbles slowly. The cook, Mrs. Whitlock, is a woman built of stern lines and strong arms. She glances at you with eyes so sharp they could trim cloth. You'll eat quickly, she says without looking again. There's dusting, polishing, and laundry waiting. Lord and Lady Hemsley expect a spotless house this afternoon. You open your mouth to explain you're a visitor, not a servant, but no one gives you space to speak. This house does not care who you are, only what you can endure. Before you can even take a full breath, Mrs. Whitlock hands you a cloth, a bucket of cold water, and a list of tasks written with elegant but merciless handwriting. As you begin to scrub a wooden table, the cold water bites your skin. The cloth feels rough, almost alive, scratching at your fingers. The kitchen is loud, pots clanging, boiling water hissing, the floor creaking under hurried footsteps. You look around and realize everyone else has been awake for hours. Their eyes are red, their shoulders stiff, their movements mechanical. They don't wait to rest. They don't hope for rest. Rest is something that happens after midnight, if it happens at all. That's when you understand. You're inside a world where exhaustion is the normal state of being. Minutes stretch into hours as you follow the servant girl upstairs. The staircase trembles under your weight. Portraits of stern ancestors glare down at you, their eyes following your movement as if silently judging whether you belong here. You don't. At the top of the stairs, the air grows colder. Victorian houses are like layered bodies, warm hard at the center, freezing limbs at the edges. Bedrooms are icy in the morning, silent except for the distant hum of the city outside. You begin your next task, polishing the brass bedposts. The metal is cold enough to sting, the cloth heavy with scented oil. As you work, your breath fogs softly in the air, making each exhale look like a whisper drifting away. You keep noticing little things, dust caught in the cracks of window frames, the faint scratch marks on wooden floors from decades of moving furniture, the soft indentations on bed covers where bodies once slept and woke and lived full lives. These small details make the house feel alive, breathing memories. You think you're alone until a gentle voice slips into the room like sunlight through a crack. You're new, aren't you? A young woman stands in the doorway, Lydia Hemsley, the lady of the house's eldest daughter. She looks barely 18, wearing a pale blue morning gown and holding a book pressed to her chest as if it's something fragile. Her eyes are soft, curious, almost kind. You nod, wiping sweat from your brow. She seems surprised that someone would be sweating so early in the day. Perhaps she has never known what it feels like to begin working before the day even starts. Don't let Mama see you resting, she whispers gently. She believes idleness is dangerous. Dangerous. As if comfort itself is something to fear. Before she leaves, Lydia hesitates and then steps closer, lowering her voice. This house, it can feel suffocating. You should know that. Everyone looks fine from the outside, but inside, she swallows, blinking quickly. Inside, we're all trying not to break. And then she disappears down the hallway like a dream that wasn't meant to linger. Her words stay with you. By noon, you feel the weight of the Victorian world pressing into your bones. The clothes you wear, a stiff shirt, heavy skirt, or thick trousers, scratch your skin. The tight seam around your neck makes breathing feel like a privilege. Lunch isn't a break, it's another rush of duties, plates to prepare, fires to stoke, shoes to shine. Everything smells like soap, smoke, and sweat. In the afternoon, Lady Hemsley herself inspects the house. She moves with a cold, elegant precision. Her dress rustles like paper, her posture straight enough to balance a book. If she sees a flaw, even something as small as a misplaced feather on a cushion, her lips tighten. She doesn't shout. She doesn't need to. Disappointment is sharper than anger in this house. When she notices you, her eyes narrow slightly. Make sure the silver is spotless, she says. Our guests arrive at 5. Your hands shake as you polish cutlery until it gleams like cold moonlight. The smell of metal clings to your fingers. The clock ticks in long, taunting beats. The world outside brightens and dims while you remain trapped in a cycle of tasks that never seem to end. Time feels like a river dragging you along. You try to keep up, but the current is too strong. Your arms ache. Your back burns. Your feet throb with every step. You've never felt so tired, so early in the day. But then something unexpected happens. As evening approaches, you hear a soft sob coming from the small sitting room near the garden. You follow the sound carefully, and there you find Lydia again, sitting near a window with her face hidden behind her hands. Her book lies open beside her, unread. You don't want to intrude, but the quiet sadness in the room pulls you closer. When she notices you, she quickly wipes her tears, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she whispers. It's silly. I shouldn't cry. Ladies aren't supposed to cry. Mama says emotions ruin discipline. You shake your head softly, reminding her it's okay to feel. In this house, feelings are buried like secrets, but sometimes the heart refuses to stay silent. She sighs shakily. Sometimes I feel like I'm living a life chosen for me, not by me. Her vulnerability feels like a tiny flame glowing in the dim room. You sit beside her, offering a quiet presence instead of words. Sometimes silence is kinder than advice. She finally releases a breath. You're different, she says. You listen. No one listens in this house. For a few precious moments, the world outside feels still, as if your exhaustion pauses long enough for you to remember why people endure difficult days, because somewhere in the middle of hardship, human connection becomes a lifeline. But the moment doesn't last. It never does. Mrs. Whitlock calls for you, her voice echoing like a distant bell. Lydia gently squeezes your hand, grateful, before you return to the world of chores and expectations. Night approaches slowly, casting long shadows across the walls. The lamps are lit, spreading a warm, honey-colored glow that makes the house look softer than it feels. Dinner is chaos behind the scenes, plates to wash, spills to clean, trays to carry with trembling hands. You nearly drop a platter, your fingers numb from fatigue, but one of the older servants catches it just in time. She gives you a tired smile, the kind that says, "We're all drowning, but at least we understand each other." When the guests finally leave, the house exhales, but the day still isn't over. At nearly midnight, you're still sweeping the long, echoing hallway. Your shoulders drop with every movement. The moonlight outside looks cold and distant, almost mocking. Your throat feels dry. Your muscles tremble. You don't know how the others survive this every day. But then you remember Lydia. Her shaking voice. Her quiet sadness. Her bravery hidden beneath layers of silk and expectation. You aren't the only one surviving something. When the clock strikes 12, the final echo fades into the silent night. You lean against the wall, breathing heavily, feeling the weight of the day collapse around you like an invisible cloak. You survived. But barely. Sleep comes slowly, heavy, like sinking into deep sand. You fall asleep knowing one thing with painful clarity. You can survive a Victorian day. But you cannot survive a Victorian lifetime. And tomorrow will test you even harder. You wake before dawn, pulled from sleep by a sound so faint you almost think it's part of your dream, the slow creak of a door, followed by distant footsteps padding down the hallway. For a moment you lie still in the cold, feeling the heaviness of yesterday still trapped inside your bones. Your hands ache. Your arms feel stiff, as if made of wood. The room is freezing, your breath forms pale clouds that drift softly toward the ceiling. Outside, the sky is still dark, holding only the slightest hint of blue. The Victorian day has begun. You force yourself out of bed, each movement a reminder of how unnatural this rhythm is to someone from the modern world. Your clothes feel even heavier than yesterday, as if exhaustion has carried weight into the fabric. The wooden floor is cold enough to sting your feet. Somewhere downstairs, the kitchen fire crackles, but the warmth hasn't reached you yet. By the time you descend the stairs, the house is already alive with quiet suffering. The servant girl from yesterday, Anna, is scrubbing the entryway floor with a bristle brush. She looks up when you pass, offering a small, tired smile that says you're in this misery together. Her hands are raw, pink from the cold water and constant work. She can't be more than 15, yet she carries herself like someone twice her age. You should hurry, she whispers. Mrs. Whitlock wants the main hall polished before Lady Hemsley wakes. Of course she does. Victorian houses never sleep, and neither do the expectations inside them. The kitchen smells of coal dust and boiling water. Mrs. Whitlock stands over the stove, stirring porridge as if the act keeps the entire house from collapsing. Her hair is pulled so tight it lifts her eyebrows. Her eyes flick toward you, assessing whether you're capable of surviving a second day. Most visitors don't. You'll take your breakfast later, she says. Begin with the drawing room. The lady wants it prepared for embroidery this morning. You nod, rubbing sleep from your eyes as she thrusts a dust cloth into your hands. The cloth smells faintly of soap and something metallic. The tasks pile up before the sun has even risen: sweep the ashes from the fireplace, polish the brass handles, dust the delicate figurines arranged on the mantel like tiny guardians. You work mechanically, letting the rhythm of small, repetitive actions numb your thoughts. The house creaks softly around you, almost like whispering. Through the windows, the faintest early light begins to seep in, turning dust motes into floating silver. By the time you finish the drawing room, your back is screaming. But the day is only beginning. At 7, breakfast must be served upstairs. You help carry the heavy trays up the steep staircase, trying not to spill tea or let porcelain rattle. Victorian trays are heavier than they look. By the time you reach the landing, your hands shake uncontrollably. Lady Hemsley sits in her elegant morning gown, her posture perfect, her gaze sharp. Lydia sits beside her, quiet and almost ghost-like, her eyes darker than yesterday as if she hasn't slept much either. When Lady Hemsley notices a single crumb beside her plate, her voice slices through the air. Attention to detail, she says coldly. Discipline builds character. You bow your head slightly, though your jaw tightens. Victorian politeness is its own kind of cruelty. When Lydia glances at you, there's a sadness in her eyes, a silent apology for things she can't control. She seems even more fragile than before, like a flower bending beneath too much frost. After breakfast, you follow her to the conservatory, carrying a basket of linens that need airing. The conservatory is warmer than the rest of the house, a sanctuary of soft light, leafy plants, and gentle warmth from the glass ceiling above. Lydia settles into a wooden chair, pretending to read. But her eyes keep drifting away from the page, her thoughts clearly somewhere else. You hang the linens quietly, but eventually she speaks. "Do you ever feel," she says softly, almost afraid, "like your life is happening around you instead of with you?" You pause, unsure how to answer. Her gaze lifts, searching your face as if hoping for understanding. "In this house," she continues, "everything is decided before we even wake. What we wear, what we say, how we sit. Mama says my future is already arranged, a suitable marriage, a suitable life. Nothing more." Her voice cracks slightly, and she quickly looks away. You move closer, gently placing a folded cloth onto the table beside her. She looks up again, and something in her expression loosens, relief, maybe, or the comfort of being heard. "You're lucky," she whispers. "You know what it feels like to choose your own path." Lucky. The word sticks in your chest like a small ache. Before you can respond, her mother's stern voice cuts through the hall. "Lydia." Posture. Lydia straightens immediately, her spine stiff as a fence post. The brightness fades from her eyes. Lady Hemsley gives you a brief, disapproving look before continuing down the hallway. When she's gone, Lydia exhales shakily. "I wish I could breathe," she whispers. You wish she could too. The day continues in endless waves of work. You help beat dust from heavy carpets in the courtyard, the air filling with clouds of dirt that sting your eyes and throat. Your arms shake violently from lifting and striking the carpet rod. The sun climbs higher, turning the courtyard bright and merciless. By lunchtime, your muscles burn so fiercely it feels like your bones are wrapped in fire. But in the Victorian world, pain is not a reason to stop. Pain is simply life. Leafy plants, and gentle warmth from the glass ceiling above. Lydia settles into a wooden chair, pretending to read. But her eyes keep drifting away from the page, her thoughts clearly somewhere else. You hang the linens quietly, but eventually she speaks. "Do you ever feel," she says softly, almost afraid, "like your life is happening around you instead of with you?" You pause, unsure how to answer. Her gaze lifts, searching your face as if hoping for understanding. "In this house," she continues, "everything is decided before we even wake. What we wear, what we say, how we sit. Mama says my future is already arranged, a suitable marriage, a suitable life. Nothing more." Her voice cracks slightly, and she quickly looks away. You move closer, gently placing a folded cloth onto the table beside her. She looks up again, and something in her expression loosens, relief, maybe, or the comfort of being heard. "You're lucky," she whispers. "You know what it feels like to choose your own path." Lucky. The word sticks in your chest like a small ache. Before you can respond, her mother's stern voice cuts through the hall. "Lydia." Posture. Lydia straightens immediately, her spine stiff as a fence post. The brightness fades from her eyes. Lady Hemsley gives you a brief, disapproving look before continuing down the hallway. When she's gone, Lydia exhales shakily. "I wish I could breathe," she whispers. You wish she could too. The day continues in endless waves of work. You help beat dust from heavy carpets in the courtyard, the air filling with clouds of dirt that sting your eyes and throat. Your arms shake violently from lifting and striking the carpet rod. The sun climbs higher, turning the courtyard bright and merciless. By lunchtime, your muscles burn so fiercely it feels like your bones are wrapped in fire. But in the Victorian world, pain is not a reason to stop. Pain is simply life. You step forward instinctively, placing yourself between Lady Hemsley and the girl, offering to take responsibility. The room freezes. Everyone stares. Even Lydia gasps softly. Lady Hemsley's eyes narrow. "You would take the blame for another's mistake?" You nod quietly. She studies you for a long, tense moment. Finally she exhales, her voice icy. Very well. But consider this a warning. Then she turns away, leaving the girl shaking and breathless, but not punished. Lydia stares at you with something like astonishment, then gratitude. Her eyes shimmer with emotion she can't express openly. Later, when you pass her in the hallway, she stops you. You didn't have to do that, she whispers. Mama would have made her scrub floors for hours. You shrug gently, letting your tired smile speak for you. Lydia steps closer, her voice trembling. Thank you. You don't know what that means in this house. For a moment, the world feels soft, like sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. Evening arrives with a quiet sadness. The house is dim, lit by oil lamps that flicker against the wallpaper. You feel more exhausted than you ever have in your life. Your feet throb. Your hands sting. Your eyelids feel heavy as stone. While sweeping the lower hallway, you notice Lydia standing near the piano room, holding her book again. She motions for you to follow. Inside the empty piano room, she speaks in a low voice. I don't want this life, she admits. Not the way it's been arranged for me. I want to choose. To breathe. To feel free. Even just once. You sit beside her, the silence thick with shared understanding. Then she says something that startles you. You survived 2 days here, and you still have hope in your eyes. I don't understand how. You try to explain how in your world choices exist. Freedom exists. Rest exists. You tell her she deserves those things too. You tell her that life shouldn't feel like a cage. She listens with wide, trembling eyes. No one has ever told her that before. When she finally speaks, her voice is gentle but determined. I want to believe you. Outside, the clock begins to chime. 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. The house quiets slowly, like a great beast preparing to sleep. Near midnight, you finish your final task, polishing the brass rail of the staircase. Your reflection looks back at you, tired, worn, overwhelmed. But there is still something alive in your eyes. You survived. Again. As you turn to go upstairs, you find Lydia waiting near the landing, clutching her book to her chest. Before you sleep, she whispers, I want to say something. You step closer, the warm light from the lamp casting gentle shadows across her face. You showed me something today, she says softly. That kindness isn't weakness. That rules aren't always right. That strength can be gentle. She hesitates, then smiles, small but real. I won't forget you. And I won't forget what you taught me. You feel a warmth in your chest, bright and steady, strong enough to cut through the exhaustion. When you finally lie down to sleep, the house feels different somehow, still heavy, still cold, still exhausting, but not hopeless. Because somewhere inside, Lydia Hemsley has taken her first real breath. And through your quiet strength, she found a piece of freedom in a world that rarely allows any. You survived the Victorian house. But more importantly, you changed something inside it. And that will last longer than 24 hours.